Now recognize the gentleman from Northwest Iowa, Mr. Feenstra.
Thank you, Chairman, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here. I enjoyed reading your testimony and also listening to it. And I just want to remind everybody that all bureaucrats are not elected. That's just common sense. We're here to create solutions. We're here to understand the problems and then create solutions. And Mr. Fick, that's what I want to talk about. I was impressed by reading your testimony. I know you're not a law enforcement officer, but you have 30 years of experience in the financial services industry. And generally, unemployment insurance is prosecuted using federal banking laws, including mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, aggravated identity theft, money laundering. So considering your time in financial services and working with the state of Ohio, are these banking offenses the right charges for individuals with unemployment insurance fraud? What is your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. In my previous testimony, I've actually stated a few times that I think it's very important to look at collaboration of data and information between what's available in the private sector and what's available in the benefits applications and submissions and those types of things are going with it. I think the prosecution of those criminals is extremely important, and we've talked about the number of cases. I think it's really important to focus on the magnitude of individual cases and looking at the impact that those can have on the overall collection and recovery of those funds.
Yeah. Do you think we should figure out better ways, though, instead of using the financial service industry? Is there a better way to prosecute these crimes under something different than banking regulatory regulations?
Well, I think in my experience, especially with the Attorney General's offices and the collaboration that happened in Ohio, a lot of it was driven and supported by the amount of information sharing that happened between, and as Mr. Talco has pointed out a few times, this is not limited to unemployment insurance. This goes across SNAP and multiple other programs. I think it's important when we looked at the guidelines from a private supporter of our state.
Yep.
When we looked at the guidelines, what we were able to do, it was our role, as the agency's role, to actually identify that a case had to be prosecuted, but then to turn that over to the appropriate organizations.
So you were in the state of Ohio. I was in the state of Iowa. I was a state senator, had a chair of Ways and Means at that point. And really the states are the ones that handle all the unemployment insurance issues. Mm-hmm. And here's a situation, obviously, through COVID that we gave a lot of dollars and stuff like that. How can us, as the states, what can the federal government do to help the states with fraud issues? And then I think I'm moving forward and saying, all right, what happens if we have a situation like this again? How can we be proactive in trying to find solutions to mitigate some of these issues?
Well, thank you for the question. I think my first thing that comes to mind for me is sustainability. There have been very strong measures put in place during the crisis. The support to actually encourage and enable the states to actually keep those in place, I think, are going to be a really important part in the overall success. The other one is and I've said this a few times, is collaboration, not only from a data perspective, but best practices that have taken place in multiple private sector organizations.
And using each state. So Ohio might have a great way of doing it. I mean, we should be collaborative across state lines, figuring out what's best. What are the best practices?
Yeah, a very good example of that is the reality that one false account in a financial institution could be used across multiple states.
Yep.
And today, an individual state has a harder time recognizing some of those trends.
Mr. Talkov, can you talk about that a little bit? Making sure that moving forward, our state systems are prepared for these unemployment spikes and these stealing of billions of dollars, and what the states can do collaboratively with the federal government.
Yeah, so I want to make the first point. I was out in California this week, LA.
Yep.
And the same criminal groups that stole from the unemployment insurance
We're doing the same thing with fire.
Are now stealing from the disaster.
So that should be a clue to us, right?
We haven't fixed it.
Yes.
Right? And it really starts with those three things that I talked about, right? It's the front-end identity verification.
Yep.
It's no self-reporting, and it's managing that back-end population. And it's frustrating because there's people in California who need those benefits that are going to wake up one
not have
day
them. Yep.
and they're going to see that someone put a loan against their house because they got an SBA loan for $500,000.
Great point. My time is up, but thank you. We're in this together. As states and federal government, we are together in this and try to figure out solutions. Thank you, Chairman, and I yield back.